Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play OpenTTD Episode 8. I've been having a lot of fun the last few episodes, getting back into the swing of things, and I hope you all are too. But in the previous episode we made this new goods line, and we have also built an expansion towards the west. So, meanwhile, the steel mill down here has filled up with iron ore. It has reached the 15,000 cap. So we do need to start moving the steel out of here, or else we're just having our cargo deleted and wasting money. I've also been thinking, based on our goods trains, it seems like the trains are taking at least 200 days to move across the map according to the cargo payment rates, since our oil trains seem to be making more money than our goods trains. I mean, could be other things, but they're taking their sweet time. I am deciding that we probably shouldn't build all the way to the top corner of the map at this point. We should probably just stick in the bottom half of the map and work with that for now with our slow trains. So, looking at factories, there are a few options over in this bottom half of the map. I'm liking this one over here. So I'm thinking we'll make a semi-temporary drop station and goods pickup station over here, since it's well out of the way of the main line. And we can build a sideline hub here. It can serve the factory as well as any primary industries, these ore mines here. And we can get our goods moving, get that steel moving, without having to send trains all the way across the map. And then we'll leave the remainder of the expansion for later. So the new steel line is one thing I want to get done this episode, and another thing that I want to do is upgrade our trains from these first gen trains to these third gen trains that go 10 kilometers per hour faster. But meanwhile, at our goods pickup, our production has dropped from 800 crates of goods per month a few in-game months ago down to 480, so almost half. So I'm not sure exactly how BSPI works, but I think we need to improve that percent transported rating, which is just at 48%, and there's tons of goods sitting around. So let's continue the pattern from last episode and add more trains. Back at the goods pickup, we are up to 900 crates of goods per month and 99% transported, so that's looking good, though the oil is still really close to the 15,000 cap. Okay, sawmill that was in the way of Sideline Hub 1 has just died. So let's go ahead and buy up some land here just to make sure nothing else replaces it and gets in the way. So next let's upgrade our trains, which shouldn't be too tricky. So there are several different ways to go about it, and a lot of people will just stick depots on the main line or on a track next to the main line, which is a pretty reasonable way to go about it. I do it a little differently. The way I do it is I just make sure that there are depots near my stations, usually near the pickup stations, and you can see this is placed slightly or partially on the exit line, so trains on the main line can't actually see this depot. And if you look at some of the other depots that I've built, you can see I've been very careful to make sure that the main line can't see these depots. So when I actually go to upgrade these trains, they won't immediately see any depots that they can reach, and instead they'll continue on to their next station, and then after they get a load of cargo, they will see the station or see the depot and be able to upgrade. So if we click send to depot, we can see these mainline trains don't see any depots. So that works really well for these terminus stations. Looks like we need some more trains here, by the way. So it works well for terminus stations, but it's a little trickier for these ro-ro stations because we can't just stick a depot here. Trains could go way out of their way, go through the station and enter the depot and create a lot of traffic and chaos, so we don't want that. So there are a few different ways to go about that, but one way is to actually use the overflow. So we could put essentially a waypoint on this reverser here, which hides this depot, and then tell trains to go to this waypoint when they need to refit or when they need to be upgraded, and then they'll end up in the depot. Problem is, this particular overflow has really low capacity, so as soon as we do this, it'll jam up. So I'm going to first upgrade this overflow to something a little more efficient. So here's the overflow design I came up with. It's a relatively unremarkable design, but it has some features like a priority here, so trains approaching the depot in this highlighted area will cause trains inside the depot to wait. And it also has a waiting bay over here, and a very short priority, just these couple of tiles to prioritize trains on the main line. But it's a little tricky since it splits into two there. And if you want to learn more about overflows, I did make a series of 2 tutorial videos on overflows that you can find on my channel. But next we actually have to do the orders for this overflow refit upgrade system, and I wanted to make sure to do those together. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is add a waypoint on the approach to the goods pickup, and then let's go in, and before trains go to full load cargo, they will hit this waypoint first. And let me let's rename this waypoint to something a little more useful. So this will be the goods pickup approach, and we can also rename this station, I guess, to the rename it to the goods pickup. And then this can be the goods pickup refits or something like that. So okay, so after these trains drop off goods, they will head to the goods pickup approach, and then I want to do a conditional order jump. So let's jump to, let's go to the full load. So this will be the normal case when requires maintenance is false. So that'll say just go pick up goods if you don't need maintenance. Now here, if we do need maintenance, we'll go to goods pickup refit, and then we'll go to the nearest depot, which will be this depot over here. And, well, always go maintain if needed. I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, we don't even need this order since trains will be very likely to want to go into the depot anyway. But that should be good. Hopefully, we'll see. And then we can upgrade. Actually, let's first add some depots on these other lines, since we can while we're here. Okay, there we go. And one over here as well. And then let's upgrade these trains. So I'm going to all trains, replace vehicles, select our first gen train, replace it with a third gen train, and start replacing vehicles. And this will take several years, or maybe about an in-game year. We'll see. It's a relatively slow process, but once we've started it, we don't really need to worry about it. So that should be all right. We'll see. You can see if this train, you can see it's heading towards this depot right now. So that's going to get upgraded. And as well as this one. So it seems we're at about the 10-minute mark on this video, so we should have time to do the factory expansion. However, it seems there's some trouble on the main line, and so trains are backing up at this merge over here, and I guess the flat junction's doing alright, partially because the merge is all the way back there, so it's probably time to do some upgrades. Now, you might expect that we would just tear up this flat junction and put in a proper junction, but let's see how far we can take this flat junction. And it is possible to make quote-unquote high capacity flat junctions, or there are ways to improve the capacity of flat junctions. Of course, a real junction will always do better, but we'll show some tricks that we can use for that. So I've gone ahead and upgraded the main line to 2 tracks in each direction, but this flat junction is still here. So the idea behind the upgrade is to basically just add a lot of waiting bays everywhere, so when trains are crossing the points of conflict, trains in the other direction just have waiting bay spaces to fill up, and that will increase the efficiency of a flat junction. Now this is sort of experimental, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing. It's something that I've played around with a little bit, but there's not a huge amount of space for it here. So I'm not going to do live commentary on that, probably just do a time lapse. So here we go. So here we are, a high capacity flat junction. As you can see, it takes up a lot of space, and there's all these spaces for waiting bays, so whenever two tracks cross each other, the main line splits into two, so it gives more spots for trains to wait. So an equivalent junction with bridges or tunnels would take up a lot less space, so you might be asking, why would anyone ever build this? And that's a good question. But I don't see any traffic on the main line, so I guess it's working, right? Anyway, so thanks to the power of time lapses, even though that junction took about 25 minutes to build, we still have time to connect up this factory. So the first thing I'm going to do is something I probably should have done earlier, is connect up this farm over here. You can see the factory accepts livestock and grain. If we just connect it up, it'll make sure the factory doesn't die while we're trying to build up the infrastructure to actually serve it properly. So we'll just add some short, simple lines for that. Let's put it out of the way. And we can just do length 4 trains maybe. So I'll have these trains be half livestock and half grain in for like a real, quote-unquote real line. I would always have separate livestock and grain trains, but since this is just to keep this factory alive primarily, there's no problem with just using one train. Now we will also need power, so I'm thinking we can do a similar thing for this power plant. Got some coal mines over here, we can just connect that up, though this one is somewhat close to closing. This one is not close to closing though, so that one is a backup. One too many trains, so just do a 2-engine train, add our universal wagons, get that up to 4, and let's see how we can refit this. I don't usually do partial production. They're both at 90. Maybe BSPI locks those together. If we refit that to 96 tons of grain, and the remainder is refit to 48 heads of livestock, that doesn't quite add up. Add one more head of livestock. So yeah, that's even, 72 and 72. So we'll just go here. It'll actually hold control for the full load, and then unload at the factory. And let's go ahead and connect up this iron ore mine, or coal mine, excuse me, as well. There we go. You can see this train filled up pretty quickly, and it's heading towards the factory, so that'll make sure the factory doesn't die. Huh. Well, this is an issue. Uh-oh. Well, I guess we're not going to be serving that factory. I mean, there's some others around here. We'll have to see. One up here, maybe. But I guess this plan is cancelled. So that factory died, unfortunately, and we do have the option to fund a new industry, so we could just fund a new factory right there, but I'm gonna go with the flow and assume that the game is trying to tell us not to build at this factory or something like that. So let's send that train back to its depot. So I took a look around, and although the factory up here looks like a similar good option, it is connected to Fratbridge, and Fratbridge doesn't have a power plant, so unfortunately we can't use that factory unless we find a power plant or a power plant appears. But over here, closer to the main line, we do have the Nartston factory and power plant, and these are nice and close to where we were before, nice and close to each other, so let's go ahead and build here instead. And for the line that will keep the factory alive, since this farm is so close to this factory, figure we might as well use some road vehicles. So let's check what's available. Let's see. Available road vehicles, we're looking for a livestock, so there's plenty of options, and grain should have plenty of options as well. Maybe we can use a tram even, that could be fun. Let's do that. In terms of stations, I guess streetcar doesn't even have the dead-end stations, but for road vehicles, these terminus stations are just not a good option in terms of performance. If you like how they look, then that's fine, but in terms of how quickly they handle vehicles, the ro-ro stations, I guess, the stations that allow vehicles to enter from both sides, are simply better. The local authority does not like us, find us atrocious. We can bribe the local authority, or we can take a look at the trees, and there's lots of empty space around. So if we just buy up some trees, they should like us again. And I don't believe there's a reason to buy a second time. I think just the first planting is good. So now we have a good rating. So let's go ahead and place that streetcar. And we can just connect these up. The way I normally build road vehicle stations is build rows of these ro-ro stations, I guess. So it lets vehicles enter from both sides. And then there's no diagonal roads or anything, so we just build those right angles. Not very pretty, but it works. So I took a look at the available streetcars, and they're all pretty similar, so I'm just going to pick two different ones to give us some variety. Use the covered hopper car, since that's the only one that can, well, that one can only carry grain. The other one can also carry grain, but let's just let it do its job, the one thing it can do. So we'll just have one of those, and then one car for livestock, one vehicle. And I guess these can share orders. So that should keep this factory alive, hopefully. What the? Of all the places you could have gone to, you chose to go to that platform that was already filled? Alright, let's make a separate platform. So stop sharing orders. Hold control, build a separate station, and you can go to this station instead, which will be the livestock station. Cannot turn vehicle around. Yeah, I don't know if that's how streetcars works. Seems like there's not a turnaround track there, but whatever. And it seems I missed a piece of track over here for this poor train. So we can let that one actually deliver its coal. So as we approach the end of this episode, we're not going to have time to connect up this factory to the main line, but there are still several things we need to do for that. We need to build a sideline hub somewhere around here to connect to the factory and any other primary industries we want to serve, and we'll also need to build a sideline hub for this station. So that'll probably be in this nice flat area here. We can have the main line and the sideline sort of interleave with each other, just because this would be way too close to this station to build a sideline hub right there. So that will be something else to do. And down at the steel mill, we're still having lots of cargo get deleted. It's still at the cap, of course. So let's check our operating profit. You can see we were going pretty steady for a while, doing pretty well, and it's fluctuating a bit now. Not sure what exactly causes that. So it seems after splitting up the two stations, Nartston North wasn't close enough to the farm to serve it, so I added a little connected station or disconnected station there to make sure that this streetcar can actually fill up. And let's just see the livestock being delivered to the factory and make sure this factory doesn't die. So there we go. Well, that'll end this episode, so thank you for watching. We have lots to do next episode, and I've been having a lot of fun with this series, so I hope you're enjoying it as well. See you next time.